This month, I listened to Minority Report and Other Stories by Philip K. Dick. This is a collection of sci-fi short stories, and it was sci-fi that I actually really enjoyed. So I'm going to try and read more of Philip K. Dick's stuff in the future. You can see the review that I did on this book, which was really just me talking about how awesome this kind of sci-fi is, and all of the movies that have apparently been made out of his novels and short stories, which is quite a few actually. So, 5 stars. Really good. The numbers behind Numbers. I am currently watching the television show Numbers. So when I saw this book sitting on the shelf at the library, I could not resist. It is a very interesting read. I wound up giving it 4 stars. The authors are Keith Devlin, who is big mathematician, and Gary Lorden, who is the math consultant on the television show Numbers. And so they go through and they just explain more in-depth about a lot of the mathematical equations that are used on the television show and that are often used as crime-fighting techniques or crime-solving techniques. And all in all, it's just a very interesting read. It was written for sort of the everyday reader. It's not written for math whizzes or mathematicians. So this is written for you and for me, and I'm not really great with math, so I understood a lot of this. And it was a very interesting read. Trouble in My Head. This is a memoir by Matilda Manaki, and I think I probably massacred that name. It's probably not how it's pronounced, but it's called Trouble in My Head, and it's a young girl's fight with depression. And when she was 14, she was diagnosed with depression and was very close to not coming out of depression. I really just picked up this book because I was looking for something different, and well, I won't lie, it's kind of research for a potential story. I've been toying with the idea of writing a story about a character who is depressed, and so I thought this would be kind of good research to kind of, I don't know, feel out the area. And this book is really well written. It's a memoir of her time when she was depressed and kind of what it was like to be depressed. It's basically an explanation, not an explanation, it's her experience with depression and what it's like to go through and the thought process that kind of goes along with depression. And I don't know, I was kind of expecting that this would be a very depressing book and that I wouldn't get very far through it. It's actually really interesting. So yeah, if anybody is curious about depression and how it works and kind of what it does to people's mindset, this is a good one to read. Black Cat Volume 1. I started this series a long time ago and got partway through it and then had to stop reading it. So I am rereading it again in the hope to read the entire series, and I am very excited about it because I loved this series. I finally started to read Cop Town by Karen Slaughter. This has been like in my to-read bag for probably 6 weeks off and on. So I finally started reading this. I got about 50 pages into it and said, that's enough of that. There was way too much swearing and just all of the things. There were all of the things in here and there was way too much of it, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to read any more of that. So I started American Sniper by Chris Kyle. This is an autobiography of the most lethal sniper in the U.S. military history. And I started this, and it was very interesting, and I was kind of enjoying it. But again, it just got to the point where there was too much swearing for me. I also read Strays by Cherie Alsop here on my awesome little nook. What? That was the first book of the Werewolf Academy series. The Brief History of the Dead by Kevin Brockmeyer. I'm having kind of a love-hate relationship with this book right now. I'm going to do a review on this later, but there were things that I didn't like about this book, about the way that it was written, about the way that it was executed, and about the way that it ended. Really liked the idea, really liked the concept, but it started to fall apart about halfway through the book for me. I had issues with it. I had issues with the fact that there didn't feel like there was enough story. It was too much a literary fiction for my taste. There was not enough content to constitute the entire book. The ending kind of went, I mean, by halfway through the book, this whole idea, this whole concept had fizzled out, and I was no longer very interested in the story. The original concept and the basis for this book was very interesting, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this book because I loved the concept, but I didn't really wind up loving the book so much. I was not satisfied with this ending. That was my huge deal with this book. I was not satisfied with the ending. I realized that I was not going to be satisfied with the ending about halfway through the book. I feel like this was some kind of commentary on life as we live it. I feel like Brockmire was trying to be deep and basically sacrificed everything else in this book to do that. And I was very unsatisfied, and it got 2 stars. And I'm really sad because I was really enjoying this book for the first half, and then it just... yeah. Literary fiction, man. What you gonna do? I finally decided to start reading comic books. Basically, I love superheroes. I have been loving all of the most of the superhero movies that have been coming out lately, and I thought, yeah, I should probably read the comics. So I asked one of my comic book friends, what comic book should I start with? Because I have no idea what's going on in the world of these comic books. So one of the suggestions was The Heroic Age. This is Avengers, and it was the one that my library had. So I read this, and it's awesome, and like, I felt completely lost part of the time because I didn't understand what was going on because it's like in the middle of the storyline, but they're starting their own storylines, so it was easier to understand. 3 complete stories. I mean, it's like the beginning of new stories, but they're like complete adventures, so 5 stars. Comic books. Oh my gosh, I love comic books. I'm gonna be a comic book freak. Yay! Alright, it's about time I got this finished up and uploaded, so let's go over the last couple of books that I read in the month of September. Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Avengers. I have no idea where this falls in the whole scheme of the comic book universe. I suspect it's the first issue in a new series, but I guess I will find out eventually. This was really fun, and I loved the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, and so, yeah, it was fun. Neil Gaiman's Marvel 1602. This concept is utterly fascinating. I loved this concept. Great execution, wonderful story. It was completely fascinating. I love all things mythology and sort of alternate history. I love the fact that Gaiman used the Roanoke colony as part of this storyline because it's one of those history mysteries, and those always fascinate me. So this is a really, really interesting and fun concept. Okay, so that is all the books that I read in the month of September. Unless, of course, I forgot some, which is entirely possible, but we're just going to assume that I haven't, and even if I do, it's not like it really matters, right? So, I was going to do a book haul, because I have gotten quite a few books since my last book haul, but because I have gotten so many books since my last book haul, I'm actually going to do a separate video for that. So, that's probably going to be up maybe, I don't know, sometime next week. I'm busy doing the Plot NaNoWriMo video series right now for the month of October, gearing up for NaNoWriMo. Of course, you don't have to be a participant of NaNoWriMo to enjoy my plotting videos. They are good for any novel writing or series writing. So, Plot NaNoWriMo, book haul video, and a review of The Brief History of the Dead. All to look forward to.